which we were working on previously, where it was the entrance to a shop that had really colorful items. This might make the edges of those items start to look a little soft. It might make the color that's on the edge not look like it ends abruptly. And if that's the case, you'd want to take this slider called Detail and crank it up and see what setting you need to use to maintain good separation between colors. This image, though, doesn't have really colorful details in it, so we're not going to notice a big difference with that color slider. I'm sorry, detail slider. Now that I've reduced the noise, I can go back to my sharpening and see if I need to change it. And I see where is there usable detail. Now it's not really usable detail out here, and then I can't really recognize what's there. I can't see the detail so much. I can see a little bit in here, though, a little bit in here. And so I'll go back to my masking slider, hold down the Option key, click. Just make sure that those areas with usable detail, that they have white stuff on them. Like that. And that's how I think about some noise reduction. I'm going to turn the detail checkbox off. And we see what the image used to look like with no, this is with Lightroom trying to do no change, just what came out of the camera. Here's what Lightroom did. Okay. I'll talk about sharpening separately. I'm going to go back to the grid and see if I can find that image of the bus up in the air. And let's see what we can do to it. It'll be an extreme example. It's not going to be by any means perfect. This is going to be, can we just make it not look absurd? Yeah. So again, I'm going to go to my masking and my sharpening and say, where do I see usable detail? There's no usable detail right there. That doesn't look like the texture of the metal. That looks like noise. But up here, there is usable detail. So is there there. So I want to make sure there's still white stuff on that. Hold on the Option key, bring that up. And even with masking turned all the way up, I'm going to leave it all the way up. I'm trying to minimize the amount of that noise being sharpened. Then again, I'm going to bring up my luminance slider. Once I get it up, I'm going to bring detail all the way down. What happens is the detail sliders grayed out until you move this up. But if I really want to get the most precision, here's how I end up doing it. The same way I did in the other image. I bring detail all the way down, and all that does is say don't limit what's happening with the slider above. Let it do what it does. I bring this up and see if I can get something that doesn't quite blur the image. It's like, what is the lowest setting that does the most good? Oh, that gets to be ridiculously blurry, whereas somewhere in here, I think is the lowest setting that does a lot of good. Then I'm going to see if I can bring some detail back. So I'm going to take the detail slider, I'm going to crank it as high as it goes. That'll bring back detail, but oftentimes it makes the noise look globby, all weird. And if that's the case, I'm going to take that detail slider, I'm going to bring it down looking for the highest setting that doesn't mess up the image. So once I get down a little bit, my noise will start looking smoother and it'll stop looking like a bunch of globs. Right about there, it stops looking like odd globs. I don't know if you were seeing it in this area. I'll bring that back up and see if you see the difference. Just remember I was at 65. But you see those weird, almost looks like JPEG compression artifacts kind of thing. Choose undo. Whereas getting it a little bit lower kept it smooth. Then I can see if I can get a little more contrast in that luminance. But if you get it too high, it starts doing weird things, adding weird textures. So I want to find what's the highest setting that doesn't make the noise look weird again. Probably somewhere in there. We got the color. Let's see. First I'll turn it all off to see what would happen if we didn't have that. Yeesh. Doesn't that look ridiculous? And then I will come up here, bring it up, and see what is the lowest setting that makes the colors look like they combine together. Where do I stop seeing a useful improvement? And once I get to a certain point, I just stop seeing a useful improvement. And so I'm trying to find what's the lowest setting. Oh, right there I still see improvement, right about here. Then we have detail. If we had colorful changes, like where these green things bump into another color, where this orange thing bumps in another color, if it starts looking a little soft,